Hello and welcome into the Take the North podcast along with Dan Wiederer from The Athletic. I am Mark Grote of 670 The Score. This podcast is coming at you from Haugh on the Thursday of the week. And Dan, that means that this is it. This was the last full practice, a Friday-style practice out here on a Thursday. The doors will be closed on Friday, at least for media, as they gather here to get ready to go to the hotel and get ready for the Green Bay Packers on Saturday night.
It's incredible. Playoff football is here. Playoff football is back in Chicago. I was telling Studs before we came on the air here, Grote, that you are upstairs on the main floor of the PNC Center. I am downstairs below you. He said it's like you guys are in bunk beds. So this is going to be our little bunk bed conversation as we set the stage for our audience for a playoff game. I can't tell you. I think you felt it this week, both when we were in studio at the Score on Tuesday and when we reunited here today at Haugh. The amount of enthusiasm I feel for this, because it is not just a playoff game. It is Bears-Packers Part 3. This is a game with X's and O's intrigue. It's a game with stakes. It's a game with a stage. It's a game with a little bit of edge as we hear people in Green Bay, and particularly Packers players, talking about some of the things that are going into the lead up to Saturday. This is what it is all about, Mark Grote.
It really is. I mean, this is what they do for, that is the players. It's ultimately, believe it or not, why we do what we do, because we grew up sports fans. We grew up loving the moment. We grew up loving the playoffs. We grew up loving championships. And really, you're right. The energy out here at Haugh has been absolutely amazing. We got to talk to a bunch of players today. Obviously, we talked to Ben Johnson. You will hear from some of the players on this particular podcast as well. But let's get down to business here, Dan, because there is a little bit of news today to report here as we record this on a Thursday in terms of the injury report for the Bears. We can tell you now that C.J. Gardner-Johnson, because of concussion protocol, will not play in the game for the Chicago Bears. Let me just go down the list here. Amen Ogbongbemiga out. He is still not going to play, concussion. Same deal for Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. All three of those guys will not play, will not be available due to concussion protocol. Now, here's where it starts to get even more interesting is Kyler Gordon at this moment is listed as questionable, which puts him in that 50-50 category. Obviously, with C.J. Gardner-Johnson being out, Dan, that becomes way more important that Kyler Gordon gives it a try, gets out there. And that's the way, I don't know how you felt being in the locker room today, but what I came away with it is, as far as Kyler is concerned, that it feels like he's gonna give it a go. He did not say that because he is not talking, because he has not been activated. But from my conversations with other players, and nothing is official, I feel like he will give it a go on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, you do. You give it a go, and you try your best to give the team what you have, and then we'll see how much the Bears can squeeze out of Kyler Gordon, what they can expect out of him, and obviously they will have contingency plans ready because they've needed contingency plans all season across all three levels of their football team, and so that remains to be seen how they'll handle that, and that's going to be a big deal here as they look for answers to slow down the Green Bay Packers.
Yep, and we'll get more into the specifics of that here in a second, but just rounding out the rest of the Thursday injury report. I told you that Kyler Gordon is questionable. Had a quick exchange with Braxton Jones in the locker room today. He's been dealing with a knee injury, but he was a full participant in practice today, officially down as questionable. And then the full participants today, no designation, as in they are fully expected to play if you need it. Grady Jarrett, good to go. Jalen Jones is a yes. Nick McLeod, who was inactive last week, all hands on deck. He was a full participant in practice today. DJ Moore, full participant. Rome Odunze, full participant in practice today. Looks like he is going to give it a go. Same with Ozzie Trapillo. We haven't talked about him much this week, but he had been limited. Obviously, he missed last week's game, limited up until today, where he was a full participant, and Jade Walker was a full participant as well. So you could kind of see the Bears following through with the message that was sent at the beginning of the week, Dan, and you kind of indicated it too. All hands on deck. They are preparing for a 5-week run. They're preparing to beat the Green Bay Packers, and the way you do that is making sure that all your players are ready to go.
I will remind people 7 years ago, the last time that the Bears hosted a home playoff game at Soldier Field, there was some injury news leading up to kickoff. If you recall, Trey Burton, the tight end back then, late scratch after coming down. I think it was a groin issue that popped up on the weekend of the game, took everybody by surprise, and they had to pivot really quickly. Eddie Jackson, if you recall, in that game was active but did not play. He was still dealing with a sprained ankle that he suffered in the regular season victory over the Packers. And so these things are always fluid up until the minute of kickoff and even into the game. And so the Bears have to be ready for everything. They will be ready for everything. This coaching staff all season has been really an A-plus staff at keeping the team prepared and ready to change on a dime and change direction. So off they go. And again, kickoff Saturday night, 7 p.m. We are leading there with a lot on our plate to try to unpack in this football game.
Yeah, and let's keep doing that right now. We spoke today to Tyreek Stevenson. I believe for the first time, he obviously did not play in the last game against Detroit. Coach's decision. He just did not play a snap. Everybody's been wondering about that. I mean, what has been said out here at Haugh, and the message is consistent that it was essentially they like Jalen Johnson and Deshaun Wright as the starting corners. That's what they're going with. They think Deshaun Wright is a better option than Tyreek Stevenson right now. And for the first time since that, we did talk to Tyreek Stevenson about what is going on with his playing time, why he's not playing, and if he thinks he's going to play more. Here's Tyreek Stevenson.
No specific answer. As they said they feel like, Shawnee and Jalen are the best options, best thing I could do is come here, be healthy, and, just be ready for any opportunity I get.
Al said this is a new week, so where you're at this week with your thought process?
Really don't know. Same thing, been rotating in practice. Hopefully, it turns over to the game, but just showing up here, doing the best I can, whenever I get an opportunity, just take advantage of it.
As a competitor, how do you take it? How do you deal with it? How do you focus that energy?
Just focus on, just being the best teammate and making sure that, when eyes is on me, I'm being the best teammate that I can, and that's my main focus, just being a great teammate, and whenever my number's called, just make sure that I go out there and do my business.
Because it did seem odd that you didn't play at all in that game, at least from our perspective. Have they told you anything differently for this game? Like, have they told you, hey, be ready to be involved?
I was told that last week, and, I didn't get in. So, just rolling with the punches at this point.
But do you say anything to them? Do you ask more questions, like why, the whole part of that?
No, because at the end of the day, they believe that the guys on the field that's going to help us win. And, I'm on the same boat. At the end of the day, I want to win. And, if I'm out there, I'm going to help us win. If the guys out there, they're going to help us win. So at the end of the day, I'm going to be a great teammate and just wait on any opportunity that I get.
I don't know if we got any answers there. I mean, I guess we can infer from demeanor and maturity and all that kind of stuff. Dan, but what did you think? What did you think about what Tyreek had to say to us?
Yeah, I was glad we got to hear from him today. We did have an opportunity the previous day on Wednesday to talk to Al Harris, the defensive backs coach. He said that he had conversation with Tyreek Stevenson about what happened last week. He said last week was last week. This week is a new week. He said Tyreek handled it like a pro. And he said when Reek is locked in and tied into what he's supposed to be doing, he's a really good football player. And so I think there's probably some expectation here for Tyreek Stevenson to be really dialed in on the details to earn some of that playing time back. I would imagine we would see him in some way, shape, or form on Saturday night against the Green Bay Packers. They're going to need all hands on deck to win this football game. I think Tyreek is two of those hands, right? And maybe he gets one of those hands on a football here or there to help the Bears defense make a big play that alters the game.
Yeah, as Deshaun Wright was sharing with us in his little chat by the locker room, talking about how the Bears are 9-0 when they force 2 turnovers. We know how important that part of the game is for the Bears. They are dependent on them, and I think they'll have to have those to beat the Green Bay Packers. But Dan, let's talk a little bit about what it's going to be like out there on Saturday night, because we did this once. And it was an electric, I'd say on the 1 to 10 scale. I give it a 9.5 because you got to leave a little bit of room. I mean, we get caught up in the moment sometimes, but there's been like massive moments at at Soldier Field through its history. But we know what it was like that day. What do you expect it to be like on Saturday night?
Yeah, I feel the obligation here as a programming note to let our loyal audience know that this isn't the standard game preview episode that we've done for 17 games of the regular season. We're going bonanza style here today, Grote, because as I kind of try to wrap my brain around all of the things that we wanted to get to, I couldn't come up with just 3 things to watch within the game. I couldn't come up with just one spotlight thing to talk about for the game. There's just so much happening that we decided we were going to try to touch on all of it. And the first thing that you bring up there is a huge part of this. It's the environment. It's the electricity. It's the fact that 3 weeks ago on that Saturday night at Soldier Field, guys talked about feeling how amped up they were in pregame with the juice that was coming from the stands at Soldier Field. And so that's part of this, right? It is part of handling your emotions, getting yourself set properly for this game. We touched on this a little bit in our live episode the other day. The very opening kickoff of that game 3 weeks ago featured DeMarco Jackson, usually a very disciplined, measured player, jumping on top of a pile on the opening kickoff and surfing on it for 5 yards and drawing a 15 yards penalty for doing so. And for me, it was really kind of like this moment where you go, oh no, this is not good. And then 30 seconds later, you go, oh, no, this is really good, because this is a regular season game that the Bears can learn from on how to properly channel their emotions when it starts really, the RPMs start really revving up into the red, and how to get it back into the safe zone there. And so I think they learned a lot from that experience, from the experiences that they had in other big games down the final stretch of the season. This is going to be part of it Saturday night. Is how do you handle the environment? How do you handle the electricity that is going to be there at Soldier Field? And it may be bigger than anything we've experienced during our time on the beat, to be quite honest.
No doubt. And I will say, from start to finish, and living in the city and living in the area of Soldier Field, I felt all of it, and it was amazing. And I can't wait. I'm already thinking about my walk to Soldier Field on Saturday night again, part 2. Obviously, I'll be there a few hours earlier than the actual PM part, but I'll get a real good feel for what the vibe is once again. I thought it was hilarious today in the locker room when DJ Moore was asked about hey, do you tell the rookies to calm down a little bit? And his analogy was basically, no. Do you tell a lion that's all amped up to calm down? So he didn't want to hear any. I mean, I think DJ understood the spirit of the question because of what you just said, the penalties, but he's like, I'm not telling anybody anything about calming down on this big of a game. You do. And that is the fine line, Dan. When those penalties occurred, some of the Austin Booker penalties and the many penalties throughout that game, especially early, and maybe I should have been, I wasn't angry, because it was they were matching the energy that was out there. Did they go overboard? Yes, they did. I think they can curb that, but I think DJ Moore's point is good. You don't want to tell guys. It's a dangerous game to tell guys to calm down at this point.
Yeah, and I heard our friend Stacey Dale say earlier in the week, quoting from Kevin Byard, that you got to go right up to the edge without jumping off the cliff. And that's a good way to put it, because you do have to understand that there is going to be an edge within this football game. You've got to meet that intensity, but then you have to make sure it doesn't create mistakes and things that hurt you in your opportunity to win a game. I do think there's going to be chippiness here Saturday night. Mark, you hear some of the rhetoric coming out of Green Bay. There are players coming to the defense of Jordan Love and taking exception to the hit that Austin Booker put on him in week 16 that knocked him out of the game. Not only out of that game, he missed the next week's game. They decided to sit him for the finale. So he hasn't played a full game since before the Bears and the Packers last played in December. And the Packers are there. Josh Jacobs said that, we got to defend our brother. And so when you hear those types of things being said out of Green Bay, you expect that there's going to be a moment or 2 or 3 or 4 where emotions flare up, and you've got to be the guy that makes sure that you don't get the 15-yard penalty that triggers the drive that changes the game, right? And so that's going to be part of this as well, because I do think that this rivalry is back now, and that's what that signified to me. All that chatter from up in Green Bay means to me that the Bears have gotten the Packers' attention, as they rightfully should have, being the division champs, and now that's going to bring an extra edge to this football game Saturday night.
Yeah, and to put a fine point on it, what you were just saying, another thing DJ Moore said. I mean, he openly admitted, basically paraphrasing, but he sounded annoyed by the Packers. and he is one who loves, he gets it. He's been here long enough to love beating Green Bay, and he says that they talk a lot. They're annoying, basically.
But think about this, like the Packers are taking exception to Jordan Love getting knocked out of the game. DJ Moore got cheap shotted by Keyshawn Nixon in that game,
Mhm.
from behind to play, and he got hit. And so like that's part of this. People remember, right? Like there's long memories in the NFL, players and coaches. And so all that stuff is going to be at the forefront of things. Oh, by the way, I think we're going to get a little bit of snow during the day. It sounds like it might be earlier in the day, but you kind of hope that you get even just a few flurries to add to the ambiance there, right? And to add to the electricity of these are two charter franchises on the playoff stage on a Saturday night in January, playing with all this at stake. I mean, like this has the chance to be really cinematic in a lot of ways. And I think that's what we're really looking for. And we understand that the Bears know that they need to have controlled aggression as they go through a game that they're trying to win with so much at stake.
Snow at Soldier Field in a big game never, ever, ever goes out of style. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Keyshawn Nixon, because he was the hit on DJ, the interception, obviously, to put the Bears away in the early December game. And then the fact that he was in coverage on the 46-yard overtime pass to DJ Moore. So he keeps jumping in the picture, even though he's not like this great, all Pro Bowl type of cornerback. But that's the essence of this rivalry. We get to know everybody.
There's no question. And just a couple footnotes on this rivalry here. Matt LaFleur coached his first game as Packers head coach in 2019 when the Packers opened at Soldier Field for the Thursday night game that opened the NFL's 100th season. So he remembers the electricity of that day in Chicago, that night in Chicago, and the buildup to that game. He's expecting a very similar environment. He told reporters in Green Bay earlier in this week that when he first got the job as the Packers head coach, that he would be in Lake Geneva getting harassed by Bears fans, and he knew then what this rivalry meant. And so that's part of this. It's good to hear Matt LaFleur lean into that a little bit. We obviously know some of the edge that's existed since January of 2025 between LaFleur and Ben Johnson. So that's all part of that. And the other footnote, you brought it up in the opening, Grote, CJ Gardner-Johnson out for this game. He's the type of guy that maybe in a game with some edge, you kind of want in there to be an agitator for you on your side. He will not be available Saturday night.
One thing that is on the side of Matt LaFleur, who you just brought up, and the Packers in general, is playoff experience. That group has it. This group for the Bears doesn't have it. How big of a factor is that?
It's worth talking about, and we've got some audio here in a minute from one of the guys on this Bears roster that has playoff experience, none other than safety Kevin Byard. But I think the guys that have never been here do have to spend some time this week leaning into the guys who have been, just to get a little bit of a prep, right? Like, I understand you're not going to really know what it's like until you're in the moment, but it does help to understand from guys that have been there, oh, this is kind of how I felt in my first playoff game. And so when you get some of these emotions, you know that this is natural and this is just something that you're going to have to sort through in real time on Saturday night. I think it's a big deal. We'll talk in a second here about kind of what that means experience-wise. I did want to give you a stat because the Packers walk into this game Saturday night as the 7th seed. There have been 10 games played since the NFL expanded its playoffs to allow 7 teams in each conference. The 7th seed in history is 1-9. Okay. In these wild card round games, they are 1-9, and those 9 losses have come by an average score of 31-17. The one exception on that list, the one team that did win a game as a 7th seed, the Green Bay Packers, who beat the Dallas Cowboys 2 years ago, 48-32 in Dallas.
Oh man, holy!
That's Jordan Love. That's Matt LaFleur. That's a team that knows how to kind of jump up and bite a favorite opponent in this regard. Obviously, this game's a little bit closer in terms of what the odds makers see, but that was notable to me to see those two things, 1-9, and the Packers being the one.
That's amazing, man. Let me make sure I got that right. So the 7th seed in general is 1-9 in these scenarios against the 2 seed specifically, or just the first game against the 2 seed, and the average score 31-17, and the Packers were the one of the 9 that got that. That is really good stuff, Dan.
So a couple other things here. You look around this team and you try to figure out where is the most valuable experience. We know Joe Thuney. He's a guy that obviously won Super Bowls with the Chiefs and the Patriots. He knows what this is all about. He can be a guy that the offensive guys can lean on. On defense, you've got a bunch of guys. I had a conversation with Tremaine Edmonds on Wednesday where he talked about the playoff experience being really just very intense in terms of understanding what every mistake and every success means. The stakes are higher. You feel that. Grady Jarrett today, I know you were part of a little bit of a scrum there. He's a guy that went to the playoffs early in his career in Atlanta. He even went to a Super Bowl and had a 28-3 lead on Tom Brady and the Patriots. What did he say today, Grote, that caught your ear in the initial stages of that scrum?
I'll be honest with you. I was only in the Grady Jarrett scrum for about 30 seconds or so, and then all of a sudden I was told, "Hey, DJ Moore's about to talk."
That was me that told you that. Sorry about that.
Was it you? Was it you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are sabotaging this moment on the Take the North podcast by asking me what Grady Jarrett said. I got nothing for you, pal. How do you like that?
That's perfect because I can give you something. TJ Edwards obviously won a Super Bowl with Philadelphia, and then I did tease to Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard has been in the playoffs 5 times previously to this in his career. He went 4 times in Tennessee. He's got this experience of understanding what this like. He's got this experience of understanding that a lot of different things happen in the postseason. He went 1 year with the Titans where they had only won 9 games during the regular season, and the next thing you know, they got hot and made it to the AFC Championship game. He went 1 year when the Titans were the 1 seed in the AFC, and they lost their playoff opener, and the season was abruptly over. Kevin Byard, Mr. Perspective this year for the Chicago Bears, offered us a nice exchange earlier this week. Take a listen.
You've been part of a 9-7 team that went to the conference championship game. You've been part of a 1 seed that lost in the first round. How do you process that whole dynamic of what this is?
Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't won a playoff game since then. You know what I mean? So I understand how special these opportunities are, and they don't come around that often. I know just even this 2019 team, like they were saying even back then, like we were too early, like as far as like we had snuck into the playoffs and, they're not going to do anything. You know what I mean? Like they don't have all the pieces, and we went on the run, and obviously we're a game short. We're going to the Super Bowl. So I've been hearing the same noise about this team this year as well. So I just think for us all together, just understanding how special this group is and going out there and just playing for each other. You know what I mean? It's do or die at this point. So like I said, I'm just extremely excited, motivated. My energy level is high. It's going to be high for the rest of the week. Because, like I said, I mean, I'm blessed to be able to be back in the playoffs with this group, with this organization. So it's going to be fun.
Does playoff experience matter?
Yeah, I would say so. I think just for, like you said, the experience of, you know, especially when it comes to, like, you know, for me, being able to be a part of these games, I know, and just talking to the guys, like, I remember my first playoff game. It was my second year in the league in Kansas City, and I just remember going out there for pregame warm-up, and it was like the lights felt a little brighter. The sidelines were a lot more packed with media and all the different people out there. The intensity level just ramps up. You know what I mean? It's kind of just like going from preseason to regular season ball and regular season to postseason. You just feel rejuvenated. I feel rejuvenated, honestly. Like, I don't feel, at this point in my body, I don't feel no wear and tear from the regular season. Like, I feel like it's a new season, and that's how I'm approaching it. So I think guys just understanding that the intensity is going to wrap up. Just every little thing matters. Every play is going to matter. So because you just never know what's going to be the play that's going to win us the game or not. So, like I said, I think experience definitely matters at all levels, right? If it's offense, defense, special teams, it does matter. But at the same time, it's just, I think when you have a few leaders that obviously we got a lot of guys with some playoff experience, can kind of just give advice and tips and stuff like that from the other guys. And at that point, it's just going out there and playing football.
Yeah, that's so good. There's a lot. I think there's a lot in there, Dan. And I guess I'll start with what he was saying towards the end of that soundbite, and that is that the lights are brighter, the more media, lined up along the sidelines early. Everybody's dressed a little bit more nicely. It's like, this is it. I mean, there's been a bunch of dress rehearsals, and those are intense too, but this is the part where you can't screw up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people are going to screw up, mistakes will be made, all of that stuff, but this is the real take, so to speak.
KB is a fountain of wisdom, right? And you hear it in his voice there as he describes this. There's a lot to take from these types of things where you just get yourself in a mindset of understanding what you're about to go do. And I think they do have the leadership that helps them to do that. Ben Johnson's another guy that obviously has been in the playoffs recently, the last 2 years, and played in some big games. He understands how to do that. We obviously gleaned out of him today at Haugh, Grote, that he understands that 7 p.m. kick requires you to kill off some day, right? Like before you get there. And so I think we were able to get him to acknowledge that he was going to, get a pretty quick workout in, or whatever word you want to attack to it. And then he said, maybe watch a movie during the day, you got to pace yourself, right? Like you got to get your energy, in the right direction, knowing that it's such a long lead up to kickoff. But again, what KB said there, this game's going to be on Amazon Prime, and you're going to have that entire stage set up on your sideline when you come out there to stretch, and you're going to feel that. And then you got to figure out what to do with that feeling.
There's no way Ben Johnson is watching, unless it's one of those 90-minute movies. Yeah, maybe, but there's nobody. I would not expect anybody to have 2 hours worth of focus leading into this game. The other thing that I will talk about that he said, he brought up the question of playoff experience. That stuff is absolutely real, and that is where the Bears are at a disadvantage right now in terms of the experience factor, and it is like, I think I heard John Kuhn say this, the ex-Packer who now works for Green Bay Packers radio and has been on the Score many times. He believes that this Bears team is really good, that they are an ascending team, but he kind of was like, but not quite. They're not there. They're not like Super Bowl contender. That'll come maybe next year or the year after. It's on the surface, I think that's sensible.
Yeah, but at the same time, next year or the year after, offer don't come, and so like you better have that carpe diem mentality here if you're the Bears. I know you're a big Latin guy for our podcast audience, so you know what that means. Go out and seize that day, figure out how to make the most of this, and go for it, which I think it naturally transitions us into a little conversation about Ben Johnson, who's going to be the guy that is the engine of everything on Saturday night. Ben Johnson's first playoff experience in Detroit came 2 years ago. If you remember, the Lions at that time had gone 32 years since their previous playoff victory. They only had one in the history of the franchise, and it had come in the early 90s. And Ben Johnson was part of that game 2 years ago when the Lions were playing at home in front of a revved up crowd and a fan base that knew what was on the line. They were also welcoming back Matthew Stafford as the opposing quarterback to come into their building. There's an environment to that. I did ask Ben about that earlier this week. Here's what he had to say.
It was a big one for a number of reasons. The home crowd was electric that night. And that was, of course, Stafford coming back. That added a little bit more intrigue to it as well. So, that one came down to the wire, but those guys played well, and that was huge for that organization and that city to get that win.
I know you're locked in, but what are you most eager about in taking this organization into the playoffs this week with the stage that you'll have Saturday night?
Yeah, well, I mean, this was the vision from the beginning, was to have some home playoff games, at Soldier Field. And so was really excited about that opportunity and to see that come to light here this year. Big credit to our guys. I kind of talked about it a little bit yesterday, the fact that you win the division, that you're having home playoff games, that's huge. It's why we do what we do. And now we've earned this opportunity and we got to make the most of it.
Grote, listening to that the first time, I was pretty struck by it. It strikes me even more the second time hearing it, because you can feel a little bit of pride from Ben Johnson and his ability to steer this team here so quickly. We sat in this very PNC Center last January when he said, this is a team that can win and win now. And we all kind of gave each other a look like, yeah, real cool thing to say at the introductory press conference. You do realize this team had a 10-game losing streak, right? Like, this team is a mess right now, but Ben was convicted in that. And I think part of the reason that we are getting ready for Bears Packers on Saturday night is because of Ben's ability to create a vision and then create urgency behind it.
We talk so much about how Caleb Williams is built for these big moments. I feel like Ben Johnson is built for these big moments as well, just with that poker face that he has, the intensity, the intelligence. We know what he's all about. You've written more than just about anybody, Dan, about what this man is all about. So I think that he also is built for this particular moment.
Yeah, and I did write this week for The Athletic a sort of a piece exploring Ben's year one impact here in Chicago. I think you and I have both been around enough to realize that there's an accountability piece to this. The ability to get the players to respond to your demands has been a big part of this. It's one thing to set demands, it's another thing to get guys to follow it and then to hold them accountable if they don't follow what you're laying out. And then I think there's also, the component of just understanding the type of football that Ben wants to play. I remember sitting with him at the owners' meetings in Florida last spring, and you start to talk to him about his creativity as an offensive play caller, and he wants to talk more, Grote, about this is what a mauling running game looks like through my eyes. This is what I want to establish with a physical offensive line. And you start to realize that the wiring of this guy who's so intelligent and so innovative goes back to the roots of football. It's about being a hard-ass team in the trenches and then having a running game you can lean into. And so I think that's part of what Ben's magic has been here this year as well. I think you probably have felt that yourself over the last 10 to 12 months.
Yeah, and hopefully he is doing his best work right now, just like he promised that the players would be doing their best work by now. And I don't know, I'd certainly get the feeling, Dan, that after the Detroit, I mean, there's evidence of it, that after the Detroit loss, that might have been the most angry Ben Johnson has been all year, and with his team, and who knows what the locker room. I doubt there was a speech. Let's put it that way. I'll just say that I doubt there was a speech from Ben Johnson to his players, especially the offense, after that game against Detroit. So he is like, it was almost like, I mean, we keep talking about it. Maybe the Bears needed to lose that thing. I think that gave Ben Johnson his opening, as much as he loves good, better, best. It gave him the opening to maybe really give it to his team.
Yeah, bad, worst, right? Like just lay that out for them on Monday and then get the page turned. And I really have appreciated Ben's ability to create for his players urgency and direction. Like there's no doubt they've responded to that level of intensity and that ability to kind of follow his lead on, no, this needs to get done today. And I think it was Tyson Bagent who sort of described him as a guy who comes in the building with something to accomplish at all times, right? And you feel that. And he's gotten that. He's gotten that to rub off on his quarterback, which is where we'll transition next, because I do think Caleb obviously is going to play a huge role in this football game Saturday night. It was Ben who early in the week said he didn't need to really tell Caleb anything because he's built for this. And so then we had an opportunity when we got to talk to Caleb to ask him about being built for this and what exactly that means to him and his teammates. Here's a little bit of that exchange with QB1.
Another game. And then from there, you go out there and make plays for your team. You understand that you don't have another game. But in my mindset, I go into it, it's another game, and go out there and go win a game.
When you hear your coach say you're built for these moments, what do you think you have within you that gives everyone around you that feeling?
Yeah, I think I am built for these moments, mentality-wise, how I've worked, and so that's I've been in a bunch of big games before, and a bunch of big rival games, and so in those moments and in these moments, I think I can provide a spark for the team. I think I can do whatever my team needs me to do. Whether that's stay in the pocket, whether that's run, whether that's scramble, whether that's whatever, hand the ball off 30 times, and be energetic about it. Whatever it takes is where I'm at and where I'm going to be at for these next couple weeks, hopefully.
In what ways do you think this stage will be at all different from a big college game you played or a primetime game you played in the pros?
I treat them all the same. All the big games the same to me. It doesn't matter if it was high school for me, whether it was college or anything like that, whether it was a game that's going to get us into the playoffs. I think the mindset of it just changes a little bit because you don't have another game if you go out there and you don't accomplish the goal.
Grote, he said something else on Tuesday about kind of just exhibiting. I don't have it in front of me, but it was something to the level of just exhibiting that arrogant confidence on the field. And I like that he said that because it is that whole thing of completing that 46-yard overtime touchdown pass to DJ Moore where he sticks his hands in his hand warmer as soon as the ball is delivered. And it's that really, really contagious belief that other guys are like, hell yeah, that guy's on our side, right? And so Caleb will bring that to Saturday night, and that's valuable to Saturday night. Now, I do think, and you can chime in here, that there's just a level of consistency throughout 60 minutes and 4 quarters that he's got to show to meet this particular playoff moment. That's going to have to be really, really sharp for the Bears to have another week beyond this. But I do think that Caleb knows how to get himself in the right headspace. Now he's just got to get himself capable of being very consistent with his play.
Well, I did ask Ben Johnson today, even though you guys won the game on December 20th on that Saturday night, what do you need to be better? And he again mentioned the slow starts. He'd like it to be better earlier. And then the other thing that he was huge on was the third down factor. And the Bears offense in that game, despite winning that game, they were 2 for 11 on third down in the victory. Meantime, Green Bay on third down against the Bears defense. In the Bears win over Green Bay, the Pack was 6 for 12 on third down. And in the first game, Dan, 8 of 12 on third down. So really, it's third down. It's always a money talking point, but it seems to be of heavy consequence in this game.
Yeah, and the quarterback's going to have to meet that. He's going to have to be ready for, again, a little bit of a first half output and not just waiting for the fourth quarter to turn on the Jets and really get everything going. And so situational football obviously will be a huge part of this game. And so I guess that again, we're moving through this bonanza here where we can transition into sort of our Bears offensive outlook, get into the X's and O's of Saturday a little bit, because I do think that Grote, I think that this coaching staff has been really good this season, and it's not like they do anything outside the box, but I think they message very well in the way that you hear things said by coaches, you hear them echoed by players, and you leave the last practice of the week understanding what their priorities are, right, for that given game. And this week, I think we've heard nothing from the offense beyond, we got to get off to a faster start. We've got to be much better at starting this football game faster. Green Bay's not going to make that easy. Little stat for you. Green Bay has only allowed 2 first quarter touchdowns all season long. One of them was to the Ravens a couple weeks ago, also to the Giants earlier in the year. But when you look at the Bears' first visit to the end zone in the 2 games against Green Bay during the regular season, the first time it was 8:20 to go in the third quarter. The last time it was with 24 seconds left in regulation.
Wow.
That's too late to be crossing the goal line for the first time. And so I think the fast start, clearly, I think you heard it all week, is really a priority for this team.
Yeah, I'd love to see one of those really super long drives. Ben Johnson has had a few of those that are exhausting everybody, even the players on their own team. Would it be nice to see them take a huge chunk of time off the clock, because time of possession has been an issue, a little bit lopsided in this game between the 2 games between the Packers and the Bears. And then, the obvious, and I think we've already talked about it on the podcast, I feel like the first team to really get their rushing game going has a huge edge, and both teams have had success against the other in the rushing game. The Bears have been over 100 yards, and both teams have been over 100 yards rushing in both of these games. So it really is a race to see who can run the ball the best.
Yeah. And look, I think we've throughout the year offered up our appreciation for DeAndre Swift. He obviously has a career year in terms of his rushing production. He averages 4.9 yards per carry a year after being at 3.8. The value of a great offensive line is certainly visible in that regard. The Bears averaged 5.8 yards per rush against Green Bay the last time they played. The following week, the Ravens ran all over the Packers with Derrick Henry doing the honors there. Obviously a little bit different runner and build than DeAndre Swift, Derrick Henry is, but that's going to be a key here, is just getting that going right out of the gates, being able to lean on that, being able to count on that. Bears were the NFC's best rushing team this year, and so they were the most productive in that category. And you can lean into that and take some of that pressure off the quarterback who's built for the big moments. You say, okay, well, every moment in this game doesn't have to be a big moment. Sometimes you can just take a snap, turn around, give it to one of these guys, and then watch them chew up 6, 7, 12 yards.
The Bears defense, Dan, in the last 2 weeks has given up over 800 yards combined in those 2 games. Yeah, really, when I put it like that, it's devastating sounding. The San Francisco game and then the Detroit game. How are you looking at the Bears defense against the Packers offense?
Yeah, I mean, like we've been having this conversation about the disparity against Detroit with yards allowed versus points allowed. The Bears have clearly internally accentuated the points allowed this week and said, as many flaws as we put on video, we only gave up 19 points to one of the top 5 offenses in the league. The week before, not so lucky, 42 points given up to a high-powered San Francisco offense. So you know that they're vulnerable, and so that like you can't hide from that, but you got to find answers. And what we've heard all week there is kind of the third down component to this. Packers second in the NFL in third down conversion percentage this season. The Bears way back in the middle of the pack in that regard, and so they've really fallen off honestly in the last month and a half in third down defense. San Francisco went 7 for 10. Green Bay 6 for 12, 8 for 12 in the 2 meetings. Pittsburgh was 8 for 14. So third down defense is going to be a big deal. And then I think, as you and I have sort of talked about, you can't acknowledge the Bears' flaws on defense without acknowledging their greatest strength, which has been taking the football away. And it, like in October, you go, is it sustainable? At the start of November, you go, is it sustainable? If you're still asking the question in January, is this sustainable? Well, the answer is yes, because it has been sustainable all year. They're going to need one to win this football game Saturday, but it's also not, you don't have to apologize because you gave up a lot of yards. You can say, look, we also took the ball away more than any football team in the NFL. That's one of our key strengths. We've got a whole basket in our defensive meeting room that guys sign the football, their takeaway, and they drop it in when they get it. And that thing's filled up over the last 4 months. So there, you want evidence of what we can be as a defense? Look at this bucket that we filled up like it's, in the corner of Toys R Us with all the balls in it.
Yeah, no doubt. And then special teams. I mean, special teams in these games, man, special teams can be your best friend in a scenario like this. They can make life a lot easier for the offense or for the defense. What part do you think that the special teams could play in this game?
Okay, a few nuggets here for you here. First and foremost, Richard Hightower a few years ago as a special teams coordinator in San Francisco won a pretty big January game because his special teams met the moment, Grote. They had a blocked field goal by Jimmy Ward. They had a blocked punt by Jordan Willis that was returned for a touchdown by Talanoa Hufanga. They had a big Deebo Samuel return in that, and they won the football game in Lambeau Field over Aaron Rodgers, over Matt LaFleur, over the Green Bay Packers on a walk-off Robbie Gould field goal. And so Richard Hightower knows as much as anyone in the building how special teams can define these moments in these games. And so he's got his group ready to go. I've had fun over the last several weeks watching Cairo Santos become better and better at the dirty kick, right? We're going to have some audio on our next episode from Cairo talking about this a little bit, but it's been really cool for him to sort of master this thing that wasn't even a thing a few years ago before the NFL changed the kickoff rules. And Cairo has now made this a weapon where if you look at the end of that game against Detroit on Sunday, Mark, the Bears tie the game at 16. Cairo gets a touchback to the 20 off one of those dirty kicks and celebrates like he just won the Super Bowl, right? Like he knows what it means to land a football in the landing zone, get it to go in the end zone, get the touchback. And instead of having the opponent start at the 35, they're at the 20. That's going to be something worth watching on Sunday afternoon. Have you appreciated the dirty kicks of Cairo Santos?
I mean, yeah. Like when, except for that one time when he missed the dirty kick, so that wasn't particularly pleasant. But yeah, I've enjoyed that, and I like that he's so happy about it. Sometimes we don't track the happiness of what goes on in special teams sometimes. But maybe what we were talking about on our TTN Live episode the other night, maybe that will come to pass. The Week 11 win over the Vikings, where Cairo Santos gets the game-winning field goal after the Devin Duvernay 56-yard return. That's what we're talking about. That's the kind of stuff that makes life easier in these games.
Duvernay, Santos, Moody, Blackwell. These are special teams guys that have helped define the season this year. It's been that way. One more special teams note. The Bears' last home playoff game ended with a missed kick. I don't know if anybody knew about that, but that was part of the history here.
I'm glad you waited 43 minutes into the podcast to mention that.
Did you remember? I think it actually hit the upright and then the crossbar.
Was it like, what do they call it, an oink or something like that? I don't know. I don't remember. I may or may not have been on the sidelines standing next to Bears players when that whatever you're talking about happened.
Yeah, I think they called it the twice ding.
That's what it was, the twice ding. The twice ding.
All right, we continue to move along here. In the event that you don't want to kick a field goal in this football game, fourth down. Fourth down is our penultimate storyline for this game, our second to last storyline for those of you who aren't in on the definition of penultimate like I am. Fourth downs, Mark Grote. Let me tell you why fourth downs matter in this game. Ben Johnson talked to us Sunday night. He talked to us about the urge to go for it against Detroit, right? You're backed up. There's the 2-minute warning has just occurred. You're in a tie game and you're weary of punting the ball back to the Detroit Lions. You decide to do it anyway because you got 3 timeouts left. And then after the game, it's clear that maybe you had second thoughts about that decision. Fourth downs, Ben Johnson, 5 for 7 as Lions offensive coordinator in the 3 playoff games that he played with the Lions. Goes for it on fourth down. That was Dan Campbell's MO. They went there. Both Matt LaFleur and Ben Johnson have 2 very, very serious fourth downs on their resume that went against them in NFC championship games.
Oh, wow.
For Matt LaFleur, it was in that game against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers in the 2020 playoffs. They are down 31-23 with 2 minutes and 5 seconds left. They've got 4th and goal from the 8-yard line, down 8 points, and Matt LaFleur decides to kick a field goal rather than give Aaron Rodgers, that season's MVP, a chance to put the ball in the end zone. I don't think Matt LaFleur has ever lived that down. Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell,
so good.
A couple years later when they're playing the NFC Championship game in San Francisco, they are down 27-24. They have blown a 14-point third quarter lead. There's 7.5 minutes to go in the football game, and on 4th and 3 from the 30, they bypass a 48-yard field goal attempt. Jared Goff decides to try to throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown. They go for it. They fail. They end up losing that game. That's a scar that the Lions fans have never quite gotten over. This is where we are. Fourth downs. Mark it down right now. There is going to be 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 big fourth downs on Saturday night that change the way we look at this football game forever.
That is unbelievable stuff, Dan. I feel like you're having one of your best episodes ever here on the Take the North podcast. And why not? Why not? You are bringing us some very interesting information. All right, Dan, you did the penultimate. What is our ultimate story? If that was the penultimate, give us the ultimate.
This season would not be complete without some more wieners from the Wiener Circle, Mark. And so our last storyline leading up to Bears-Packers Part 3 is the Wiener Circle. They still got a standing offer for more free hot dogs. Caleb earned them hot dogs with all those touchdown passes against the Cowboys. Ben ripped his shirt off, got Chicago more hot dogs. These are the criteria that need to be met Saturday night for another day of hot dogs at the Wiener Circle. They are looking for an offensive touchdown scored by an offensive lineman or a defender. They are looking for a touchdown scored by the defense or the special teams. And the most unlikely of the Wiener Circle promotion, they will give away free hot dogs if Bears defensive coordinator Dennis Allen, and this is not a joke, if Dennis Allen does the Macarena.
Oh, all he's got to do is the Macarena. Okay. I love it. I absolutely love it. The Wiener Circle has been a blast all season long. All right. Moment of truth here. And I'm sorry to keep this moving along, but I've got another responsibility for the score in moments here. But gentlemen, are we doing our picks right now? Are we doing this right now?
We are going to rip through them right now, Mark.
All right, let's go.
The extravaganza Adam is not complete without an Adam Studzinski pick, and I think we know which way he's leaning.
Okay, Adam, you and Adam Studzinski are our fine executive producer. What is your pick for Bears-Packers Saturday night at Soldier Field in the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't even know why you guys have to ask me what my pick is.
What's the score, at least? Give us the score.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bears. My sanity hinges on the outcome of this game. And like, honestly, we've been doing this podcast for how long? And I've never picked the Packers over the Bears, and I probably never will. So there is that factor. The score is tough for me. I think that the Bears are going to win it 27-24. And I'll just go with that. I don't think it'll be a walk-off field goal, but it will be a field goal game at the end. So
all right. You got the Bears by 3. Dan, you want me to go, or would you like to make your pick?
Go for it. You go next.
Okay. I also I don't I can't even think about the handling it if the Bears are to lose to Green Bay. And I mean that from a professional standpoint in a lot of ways. I don't want to be here Sunday for locker cleanout day here at Hallis Hall. I don't want that to be like, I don't want to have to talk hot stove baseball on the score all the time. I don't want to have to talk about the Bulls and the Blackhawks all the time. I want 5 more weeks of Chicago Bears football. All of that said, I am picking Green Bay to win this game. I know it's horrible. 30-27. The whys of it are the following. Jordan Love, like he didn't play in the majority of the last game, but we know what he did in the first game to the Chicago Bears, where he just the explosive play after explosive play was well over 300 yards. I think 3 touchdowns in that game. The experience factor is real. I think the defensive issues for the Bears are very real right now. They're still trying to figure it out. Are they going to be healthier? Will they be better? It's hard for me to look at what they've done recently and say that would be the case. I think the experience factor, like just between coach and quarterback on both sides, has to play a part in this. And guess what? Like what we've been talking about all year, you just can't get off to a slow start, and there's no way for me to sit here and be like, oh yeah, there's no doubt the Bears are going to get off to a fast start. So all of that said, I don't want it, and I dread saying it. I almost just didn't say it to protect myself, but I think I have Green Bay winning the game 30-27.
I'm glad I'm going last here to tie a nice little happy bow on this episode. I've got the Bears 23-20. Ben Johnson came in here and he said that he was going to change the narrative of same old Bears, and his team responded with magic moments all season long. He said he was going to win and win now, and the Bears won the division. He told us the very first day we met him that he sure does enjoy beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. He gets his opportunity Saturday night. And oh, by the way, you and I had a little moment in the corner of the locker room with Jaquan Brisker, the safety, and said, you guys have an opportunity to potentially trigger regime change in Green Bay. There's a possibility that the Bears could end Matt LaFleur's time as coach. I think the Bears understand that they've got that opportunity sitting in front of them. Give them the stick, let them swing at the piñata, see what breaks loose.
He did laugh when we were talking about that. He also laughed when I told him what I just said on the podcast. I do not want to have to be talking other sports. I want to keep talking football. And he did laugh and then made his way out of the locker room. So that is that. I got to get out of here. So, Dan, if you got 10 seconds, is there anything else you'd like to say? But other than that, we got to go.
The playoffs are here. We cannot wait. Great talk.
Can't wait. Hope you guys have enjoyed the bonanza. For Dan Wiederer of The Athletic, for our executive producer, Adam Studzinski, I'm Mark Grote of 670 The Score, saying thank you so much for listening to and watching the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.